Hey YouTube family, this is Sparks the Creator. Today we're going to do a basic Final Cut Pro tutorial on how to use the program for all you guys that are just now downloading it. So we're going to hop right into it. As soon as you open the program up, you're going to see the basics. The first thing you want to do is open the library over here and go to New. We're going to title this Final Cut Pro Basics. I already made this tutorial, so we're going to name this Final Cut Pro Basics, period. And next thing you're going to see is you're able to open a new project and import media. So we're going to go to new project and name it one more time. Final Cut Pro Basics, period. And the event is going to be the actual date until we change that. Opening up, you're going to see the magnetic timeline down here. Of course, nothing is in it right now because we haven't imported any clips. So that's going to be the first thing that we do is go up top to import. I have a few aerial footages that I'm going to grab right here. So we're going to highlight them all and import all right on the side. And I'm going to select and bring down to the magnetic. When you see the yellow box, that's where you can actually go hover over and select exactly how much of that clip you want to bring down when you are up here or when you are down here. Going to our tools right over here, we're going to open those up, and mainly in Final Cut Pro we use blade and select. At least I know I do, but going down the list of tools, you have the select, where that'll be the easiest to use to grab your clips and rearrange them from order to order. If you want the first clip in the last place, you can do that. If you want to put it in the middle, you can move them however you want to move them. We're going to move that back. So the next one over is trim. That's when you want to come over, and if you don't really want to blade it, you can just either subtract from the beginning of the clip right there or come to the end of the clip and bring that in. Position is, I would use that mostly if I'm making a music video and I want to move a clip out of the way and still maintain the cut of the beat and the audio. What that's going to do is put a little sizer or spacer where you took your last clip from, so that the beat still stays on target with the rest of the clips. The next one is range selection, where if you wanted to speed up or slow down a specific part of your footage, you can select that specific part with the yellow box around it. And if you even wanted to, you can get rid of that part of the clip. The blade is where we would make incisions and cuts in our clip if you wanted to get rid of a part of the clip, or if you wanted to adjust the sound of the clip and make the sound either rise or fall in a certain point. You can just cut that right there and adjust the audio on the clip. Or you can cut a title or anything else that you would want to use the blade to cut with. The zoom is actually going to zoom in on the magnetic timeline, and you'll see after I press it a few times, this zooms in on the first clip. And another way you can do that is just go to change appearance of the clip over here and toggle that. You can either make it longer or you can make it bigger in your magnetic timeline appearance. Gonna click off of that. Lastly, we have hand. This is just if you have a couple of clips or your magnetic timeline is elongated. You can come over to the hand part right there and slide up or down the magnetic timeline easier by grabbing and just going over left to right. So the first thing that we are going to do now that we have these clips here is we're going to go to our titles up here. And you'll see titles and generators. The titles are exactly how they sound. If you want to title something on the project, or you just want to add a name in the project that you want to stay somewhere, you can come grab a basic title or a custom title or any type of title you want. Right now, like I said, we're going to grab a basic title over here. Come to select. Also, right where the tools are on the right side, you're going to have all the shortcuts. So in case you don't want to keep clicking over here, if you learn the shortcuts, you can just press A for select, T for trim, P for position, R for range, B for blade, Z for zoom, and H for hand. It makes it a lot easier to just press those buttons and makes your workload a little bit faster. Especially with longer projects, it might make it a lot faster. So you're not using all that time to just come over to the same section and hit these buttons. So over here, we're going to go to this little paragraph looking thing and rename it. We're going to say country. And right in the middle over here, we're actually going to say summer. After we get the blade and cut it right there, go back to select, and we're going to name that from country to summer. Next thing we are going to do now is we're going to go over here to our transitions, and we're going to add a cross dissolve. So that you can actually see the clips fade into each other. Up here, once you do something to your project, you're going to see that little circle moving around. That is rendering. So what rendering means is the computer takes a little bit to save what you just did in your project, and until that goes all around, your footage might be a little choppy and it might not be as smooth when you play it back. So one of the best things to do is, as soon as you make a move like that and you want to see and scrub through to see what it looks like, you want to let that render through so you can get the smoothness effect instead of having a little shaky and choppiness. So after we let that render through, you see the smooth transition. Next, we're going to use a different transition. We're going to stop that right there. And we're going to use, let's use a blur this time. How about a directional blur? And we're going to create that transition. So we're going to let that render out, and after that is done, we're going to see what that looks like right after. All right, that's cool. I like how that looks. So we have two effects down. Let's add, no, we have two transitions, so let's add an effect this time, and we're going to come over right next to it and add an effect. We're going to come and just to put a random effect, we're going to say photo recall. And nothing is coming up because I need to press all video and audio. We're going to grab that and place it down there just to see what it does. And like I said, you can sort of see a little bit of choppiness in the clip because it's taking time to smooth everything out and rendering. And when that is all done rendering, you'll actually see a big difference in how the clip looks. But we're going to keep moving along, and we're going to look at it a little later. We're going to come over to the text inspector on the right hand side. These are our inspectors. And we're going to see everything that we can do. In our text inspector, we can change the fonts of the text, the size, alignment, and wherever you want to change with the text, you can change the spacing. If we go right next to it, we can go to the video inspector, and this would actually change the scaling of your video. So if I were to click on that, we can go to position, and right here we can change how big it is, the scaling. We can come down to crop, and we can crop it left to right, right to left, however you want to do it. Distort is going to distort the picture. I don't really use that too much unless I'm using an effect or something. I have an effect with my niece that I use Distort for, and I'll post that for you guys a little later on. If we go a little further right, we'll hit a different clip so you can see a little better. We're going to go to our color inspector, and right over here you'll see how we color correct. I'm going to go to color board, and right on here you have your color, saturation, and exposure. If you go to your exposure, you have your shadows, your midtones, and your highlights. So this is the master exposure. This is going to either raise your brightness or lower it into shadows. And you, like I said, you have your shadows, midtones, and your highlights. Same thing with your saturations. And if you move it out of place and you don't know exactly where to put it back, you can just double click it and it'll go reset itself just like that. A basic contrast would just be to raise your highlights over here and to drop down your shadows. That's a little too much, we're losing a little quality. But that would count as a basic contrast right there. And if you didn't like it, double click right there, and that would just reset everything. So I got effects down, I have some transitions down. Next thing I'm going to do is we need some music in our clip. So I'm going to come up here to our audio and go to sound effects. And I have a friend that made a song, and I'm going to use one of his songs over here. Name is Apelli. He makes great music, so go check him out sometimes on SoundCloud. I'll leave the link down there, but we're going to come down. These are a list of all of our sound effects. And a good way to find that song that I want to see, or hear, matter of fact, you can't see a song, you can hear it, is I'll go all the way up to the top. I know it's one of the longer playing ones, so I'll click time. And I know just about how long his song is, so I'll scrub up. And if I can't find it in a certain matter of time, I'm just going to use one of these other sound effects. But I really wanted to use his song. I really liked it, so we're going to give it a little more time. Bear with me, guys, a little more time. I hear the song in my head, so I really want to find this. I didn't know I had that many sound effects up here, but if I can't find it on this go down, then I'm going to just use a different sound. And I didn't see it, so we're just going to pick a different sound to go with this. We're going to use 44th Street Long. And we're going to come over and add that and drop it down. That's going to go all the way down. And I grabbed it from the middle, but to extend that from where it was just at, we're going to grab the tip of it. And we're going to come back out like that. Since it's not in the magnetic timeline, it's gonna go wherever I place it at instead of just going straight to the beginning of the timeline. So if we hit the space bar, sounds good. We're just going to go to the edge right here and just match it up with the rest of the clip. And play it. If I didn't say before, I believe I did, but right on the sides are some letter shortcuts instead of just coming over here and clicking the tools. If you're working on multiple projects, one thing that you could do right here is click the arrow buttons, and this will go back and forth between your projects. But we only have one right now, so that's not going to be too useful. There's other reasons to have them. There's other uses. Like if I wanted to go in depth in a clip and change some really specific points, I can use that to go back to the whole clip. I've showed you guys the titles up here. Here are some of the generators, just in case you need a solid for anything. We have a whole bunch of different generators that are useful. Sometimes if I want to reveal something slowly, I use a curtain. Sometimes I'll use bubbles if I want something to be funny, or a glimmer, or just a black custom. There's a counting down, counting up generator. Information expector is what you're going to go to if you want to rename a certain clip, if you want to add notes on it, if you want to add a color roll to it so it's easier to find. You can come and name your camera so that it's easier to organize all your cameras if you're doing a multicam. You can change your 360 projection mode between equal or irregular, fisheye. I know I screwed that first one up, so just bear with me. Back-to-back fisheye and cubic. And your stereoscope mode with monoscopic, side to side, and under over. So another effect that I would like to use is a fade to black. Matter of fact, it's a transition. Dissolve, fade to color. But it's going to fade to black after it's done. So play that. And this is, well, after you're done with your project, you're going to need to export it. So we're going to come up here to File. And we're going to go to, actually, you can do that. Come to File and Export. Or what I usually do is come to this button right here. Export. I use a lot of my things for YouTube, so I will hit YouTube. Or you can use the master. And after you do that, you would have a spot where you can name your title one more time, add a description. Come into the settings, you can change your resolution, compression, whatever else you would want to do for your specifics. It would start rendering out, and then you would be pretty much done. First tutorial, basic tutorial on how to use Final Cut Pro. Guys, if this added any value, just share and like for me. If I went too fast or if you needed anything a little more explained in depth, just leave a comment. But till next time, this is Sparks the Creator. Enjoy the rest of your day.